Hello and welcome to podcast number 37 from the Self-Publishing Formula.
Two writers, one just starting out, the other a bestseller. Join James Blatch and Mark Dawson and their amazing guests as they discuss how you can make a living telling stories. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
Well, I should say we've had a few outtakes for this podcast because we're doing something new. You can hear us in glorious stereo. God, that was a word from the 70s. But we're also going to experiment with video. So if you're on YouTube, the YouTube channel, unfortunately, you've got our mugs in shot as well. So here we are. Mark's in his brand new office in Salisbury in Wiltshire in the United Kingdom. And I'm in...
Bedroom.
In my bedroom. It's not a bedroom. It used to be a garage, converted to my office, but I think I've outgrown it. I daren't even put the camera around. Oh, my God. Everything's fallen apart. My screen went black. It's back. I won't touch my laptop again. Anyway, yes, so if you're listening on audio the normal way on your iPod or whatever, iPhone, this will be meaningless to you. But if you're on YouTube, a bit of a shock that we're going to be in vision. We'll try and do this from time to time. We'll see how this works. Okay, in this episode, we have an interview with a man called Tony Garrett, who writes as T J Garrett. He writes epic fantasy books, although he's just starting, I think, paranormal suspense. And Tony has a remarkable story. I mean, seriously, it's an absolutely phenomenal story. A year ago, he was at the end of a 20-year period where he has a degenerative disease which had taken away his eyesight almost completely. He had not read a book since he was at school, and you will not believe where he is today. So we're going to hear from T J Garrett in a moment. It's an inspiring, wonderful interview coming up. But we've had a lot of emails and a lot of questions on our Facebook group about the 101 course, which we've been working on in the background here at Self-Publishing Formula headquarters. And I've asked Mark if I can quiz him as a new author. I mean, I'm working on it as well, obviously, but we really would like to know what's going to be in the course. And rather than us keep telling people, hold on, you're going to find out, hold on, you're going to find out, let's use this podcast just for a few minutes to have a discussion about what the 101 course material is going to be. So, Mark, what's going to be in the course? Who's it for?
Well, James, it's for people at the start or kind of just beginning their careers as authors. And a little bit of background will help explain what I mean. When I started doing courses a couple of years ago, I originally wanted to do something that was comprehensive, would be a start to finish checklist of everything that you need to do to give yourself the best possible chance from the moment that you finished typing the end and your book was ready to be converted into the various formats and then uploaded and sent off to the retailers. And once I kind of sat down and thought about that, every time I worked on it, I was adding more and more and more onto the course. And before I knew where I was, it was vast. It would have been hours and hours and hours worth of content. And I just I'd never done a course before. I wasn't sure that I could deliver that kind of product that would successfully teach people what I wanted them to know. So it was quite stressful for the first 2 or 3 months. And in the end, I decided that rather than try and do that and do a bad job, I'd focused on one thing that was generating a lot of interest back then and is still generating interest now. And that was the Facebook and social media advertising side of things. And I put the rest of it to the side and just kind of concentrated on the smaller niche area. But we've done Facebook 3 times now. I'm a bit more experienced in delivering this kind of content, and we've got more people helping us now. So I thought I'd have another go at it. And kind of the thing that I was having trouble with was working out a structure that would take a very big topic and make it logical and easily digestible for people at the start of their careers. And the hook, which we kind of stumbled upon, was the fact that you have a novel that you've been working on for a couple of years, as we've mentioned before. And you were effectively the perfect guinea pig for taking someone, because you're the avatar here. You're the new author just getting started with getting these kinds of things done. You've got a book that you're ready to sell. We can get you a cover. We can build you a website. We can build all the kind of platform stuff that you need, and then we can take that book and give it its best chance to start selling and making you some money. So that was the kind of the thread that I was searching for. Couldn't find it previously. And I guess it came to me over the course of the last 18 months when as we've been working closer together.
And this is about, I mean, all the way through the course, this is about setting yourself up as a commercially successful author.
So module 2 is all about pre-publication, and that would be something that would be applicable for anyone at any stage of their career, even if they just want to know how to take their Word document, turn it into a Mobi file or an EPUB file, and then upload it to the retailers. That will be something that the course will teach, and there'll be screen flows and extensive information on all that kind of stuff. But the main motivation, as you say, is to teach people how to do that, and then also how to sell that book and make profit from it. So we look at mailing lists and advertising and strategy about going wide or going exclusive. Everything that you need to know will be included. That's why we call it 101. It really does cover everything from A to Z. That's the plan.
So, I mean, you talk about authors at the beginning of their careers. I mean, people who've got 2 or 3 books out, but maybe haven't cracked the commercial side of things or aren't really sure where to go on this. Is it going to be of use to them?
Yeah, completely. Because in some ways, they're just slightly further down the track than a newbie writer would be. Because they've got 3 books. That's a lot of ammunition that they can then parlay into building a platform, getting readers, giveaways, all that kind of stuff. They're just, maybe a year or 2 further down the line. But no, it'd be absolutely perfect for those kinds of writers too.
Okay, good. Well, it's exciting, and we've been incredibly busy in the background recording screen flows. Some of it's quick and easy and just follow. I mean, I've done some setting up of accounts today, and they vary from the Amazon one where you end up banging your head against a table and almost need an accountant sitting next to you to get through the tax interview, and Kobo, which was a really easy one to do. And so some of them are going to be very, very useful for people just to handhold through that process. But it's not just, for me, it's not just about, you need an account in X, Y, and Z. It's how to set up a website and what the purpose of that website is, what the purpose of your Facebook group is, how you talk to your readers, how you engage them. That's the magic for me, and the bit that obviously you've been through over the years. And I'm not going to say perfected, because it's something that I think probably even month to month you work on and develop, but you've got a system which is working.
Yeah, the idea is, the thread that runs through is you take someone who's never heard of you before, a new reader, and then at the end of the process, they're a dedicated fan who'll be prepared to go out and buy everything that you put out. That's the goal. That's what I want to teach people how to do.
Good. Okay, well, that's exciting. And the other thing we should just say is that it's not just you and me even. We brought together some of the trusted, well-known and leading-edge names in the industry to deliver some of the material, and that's exciting stuff. So we're going through that at the moment, and it's going to be a really good package. Anyway, enough of that. You don't, if you think maybe it's not for you just at the moment, don't forget that we do have Facebook groups which are, of course, free to join, and there's some great repository of information and a great community helping each other there. So we have a 101 Facebook group purely for people who are starting out, and we have a marketing Facebook group as well. So if you search for Self-Publishing Formula on Facebook and click to join either of those groups, and Mark or myself or Catherine or Alexandra or Sarah or Kerry or possibly even John will click approve and let you into those groups. And it's great to see, though. They're a great, vibrant community and really, really helpful for people like me in particular finding their way. Okay, that's a rumbling sound. Is that me or you?
Yeah, I'm just listening. No, that's me, I think.
I think it was a lorry in Wiltshire in going up your cobbled streets. I'm not very good at this TV thing. Look, I can't see myself. There you go. That's better. Good. Again, for people not watching on YouTube, no idea what we're going on about. Let's get on with our interview today. So we've got Tony Garrett, T J Garrett. He reached out to us a short while ago and said, do you think you'd be interested in having a chat with me? And we definitely were. Both Mark and I thought straight away this is a really interesting story, and I'm really glad that we spoke to Tony. He was a little bit nervous when we spoke to him. It's only about 20 minutes, the interview. It's really, really worth a listen. So I got at the beginning to get things going, to get Tony just to explain to me a little bit about his background and his books.
I had 25 years of, almost 25 years of living on welfare, because I've had a progressive condition called Donné-Barré syndrome, which means that at some point I'm going to go totally blind. But at the moment I've got a very small amount of vision. It was 5 years ago when I got hold of my first tablet and realised that I could change the text so I could read, even though it was huge. And I got halfway through that first book and I decided I'd have a try writing myself. So the first 2-3 years was all, learning and practicing. And I actually thought I was really good. And then after 3 months, I sat down and read it and thought, no, that's not right.
We've all been there.
Yeah. And then I started full-time about 6 months ago, 7 months ago, I think it was. And actually came off benefits. And at the time, my income was around $1,500 to $2,000 a month-ish. And that was plenty for me because I live in a small town in Lincolnshire and I rent isn't very much. So that was kicking on all right. And then obviously you just keep going, don't you? And then things got a bit better in the last few months. And this last month and a half has just been unbelievable, really.
So just to put this in perspective, you say you've got a progressive condition, you've been living on state benefits or welfare, it's called different things around the world, but what's happened to you is transformational. It's amazing that you've found something that you can do that turns out you are good at, and that has given you a financial independence, what you say, for the first time in 25 years.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, I used to be a builder years ago when I had sort of normal eyesight. I've never had perfect eyesight, but normal-ish. And I've done other things. I've tried music and I've tried this and that, but nothing that you could have hang your hat on and say, oh, this is going to be a career and I'm going to be able to make a living out of it. But it's the writing that did it. And it was obviously support from friends as well that kept telling me to carry on with it.
Great story, Tony. I was so delighted for you. Let's just talk about the writing a little bit. Then we'll talk about what the breakthrough was in terms of marketing and so on. But in terms of the writing, so when you realised you could change the font size on the tablet, am I to gather that you hadn't done a lot of reading for a few years at that point?
I haven't read a book since I left school.
Wow.
I can't read any size print at all unless it's the big titles on a newspaper. So even the large print books weren't any good. So for 20-something years, I've not been able to read.
But on a tablet, you can make it such that you can?
Yeah, I have to look at white letters on a black background because the other way around, there's just too much whiteness, if you know what I mean? So everything gets lost. And make the text big enough so there's probably 3 words on a line maybe, and then it's a bit slow, obviously, but get there in the end.
And what books were you reading?
The first book I read was The Hobbit. I got halfway through that, and that's when I decided I wanted to have a go myself. And then, obviously, I read Lord of the Rings as well. Then when I'd done Robert Jordan, took ages. The Wheel of Time series.
Yep.
Yeah, that took months to get through, because obviously there's 14 books, and each one's 300,000 words or so. And I've gone on to all sorts of stuff, Stephen King. I've read a couple of Mark stuff. I'm halfway through The Angel at the moment.
You said you were halfway through your first Tolkien book, your first book in 25 years, and that was the point at which you thought you might have a go at writing.
Yeah, I tried writing just after I left school. I tried writing a sci-fi thing, but to be honest with you, I just didn't have the patience for it. It's a long job, it takes a bit of figuring stuff out. And I'm not a plotter. I just write what I think has to come next, and that can be confusing at times, And if you haven't got a method for building the story back in and getting your plot back in line again, you can end up getting to a point where you think, oh, this isn't going anywhere, and just stop. But I've figured out a way around that now, so hopefully I should be able to keep going. So
tell me a little bit about that journey then. So you started writing, you thought, oh, this is good, I can do this, and then you read it back, as you said, and realised it wasn't as good as you perhaps thought it was. So what did you do to improve yourself?
I sent an email to my friend Matt, who's been the main force behind helping me to get the confidence to do this. And I actually sat down with the tablet and read it for the first time, and I realised that wasn't very good. So when I realised that, I basically read about 30 books on how to write, and I think I managed to get about 2 sides of A4 decent information out of that, and just kept practicing it. I did a lot of cutting things out. I had some very good advice from some friends of mine that I met on Wattpad, Rob May particularly, some other people as well. Just basically gave the book out to friends and told them to tell me what they thought of it, and listened to everything that they said. And if it made sense to me, then I changed the method or put in extra bits, or thought while you write about it. A lot of it is to do with getting the flow right. I knew what was in my head, but I wasn't getting it on the paper. So it was getting the flow right, I think, was the hardest part for me.
Yeah. And we should say in terms of genre, was epic fantasy, is that right?
That's the one I've been writing into up till now. I've just started some paranormal investigation type things as well, but mostly, everything that's published is epic fantasy.
Okay. So really interesting that there was something in you when you left school that, I'd imagine for most people who go from school to the building trade, they probably haven't tried to write a book at that point. So there was clearly something about you that was a writer trying to get out. But I still think this is a very, very impressive period of self-improvement, Tony.
The creative side's always been there. I've been a musician since I was 11. So I've always had the creative edge, and I did some art and stuff. But I should say the writing bit, I never imagined for a minute like I say, I had a go, but I didn't think for a minute I'd be publishing stuff.
Yeah.
That was a million miles away.
So you were first published in the summer of last year, August 15. How many books now?
I think it's 10, maybe 11.
Wow.
The books are actually parts of a series. The first book itself, Dragon Oracles, is the 4 parts, which the omnibus is available now. That's I think, it depends on how you look at it. There's 8 separate things you can buy anyway, and 2 other books that are just released anyway.
How many words is each book?
Dragon Oracles is over 500,000. Mercius is about 350,000.
Oh my goodness. I thought you were going to say there were 40,000 words each and you put 4 of them together to create
No. They're all big books. The Dragon Oracles is 4 books together, but each one is about 150, 160,000 words.
Was the clues in the word epic, I guess?
Yeah, that's it. I say epic. When they say epic, I think they mean over... I know it's a genre, but at least 500-600 pages of an epic. That might just be me, but that's what I expect.
So you've obviously got the writing thing done. You've built an audience. And how did you do that? How did you go from being able to write to being able to sell?
Well, that was the hard bit. I loved the writing, but because everything takes me so long, it took me a long time getting the marketing end up. I was going to do your course, but at the time I didn't have the money for it. But saying that I did, but I thought, well, do I spend that on that? Or I wish I had now, because I spent months trying to figure out how to do this. And if I'd done that in the first place, I'd have been able to write all that time rather than trying to figure out what I'm going to do the marketing. The main thing I do for marketing is I've got my email list, which isn't very much of them. I've got about 1,200 people on there, I think. I keep building that up. I keep doing Facebook ads. I do the countdowns on Amazon. I do a free thing every now and then. I try and make sure that at least 5,000 new people a week see the products and whatnot, Other than that, I just keep going, keep Facebooking, keep blogging, keep doing, what everybody does. I think I don't do enough of it. I know that, because the writing takes so long, and by the time I finish the writing, I'm sort of a bit drawn, but I do my best.
And you sold your first book, I guess, not too long after you published it, although so it took you a while to get things going. But can you give me an idea of what type of sales income you're up to now?
Last month, I think I sold 6,000 books, but I get the most of the income from reads because the books are so long. The KDP?
Yep.
Yeah, I got over 5 million reads for September. August was building up to that, and so far this month I've had just over 1,000 sales and nearly 2 million reads. So I'm not sure that is in money exactly, but it's a lot more than I usually am. My welfare was, including the rent, about 14 grand. And I think September I earned about 19, maybe 20.
That is amazing. 19 or 20 grand in a month from pretty much a standing start last year. Not just as a marketer, but as a writer. There are lots of people who've done our course, or they've found a breakthrough or whatever, but they've been writing for years, and it's the marketing that's come. But you weren't even a reader until last year.
I had to spend a bit of a learning curve doing all this. But with me, like I said before, it's the amount of time it takes is the problem. The marketing, the sales, I don't know if I've been lucky with the marketing or not, but the sales have gone really well.
Well, I would imagine good books. Let me ask you, Tony, I don't want to pry, obviously, but it can be obviously a challenge for anybody emotionally to have a progressive disease. It's an understatement, really, and we all value our eyesight so much. I think all of us find it very difficult to conceive of a situation where that's being taken away from us. So I can only imagine sort of the emotional impact on you of this turnaround. It must be tremendous, right?
It's absolutely incredible. I wake up every day wanting to do something now, where we used to wake up every day feeling almost as tired as I was when I went to bed and thinking, oh God, not another day, But nowadays it's, I look forward to coming downstairs and doing stuff. I write all day, read all night, apart from a few breaks, obviously, to eat and take the dog for a walk. But other than that, that's what I do, and I love every minute of it.
Fantastic. And your technology has obviously played a significant part in this as an enabling factor for you.
Definitely, yeah. Without the tablets, I wouldn't be able to read. I've got a lot of help from the RNIB, the Royal National Institute for the Blind. I've had software packages off them. I've got a very good narrator, which I can't actually use for editing because it doesn't pick out sound-alike words and stuff like that. But it makes the life of actually reading some of my work that much easier. I've got large screen things, magnifiers, all sorts of bits and bobs. Just keeps getting better, really.
Yeah, a lot of technology, I can imagine, sitting around you. You'll have to take a photograph, and we'll add it to the blog post that goes along with this podcast, Tony. But I think people would be interested to see that.
I think you can actually get a photo off my Facebook account. I'll give you the link to that.
Okay.
It's quite the studio. It's the knobs and buttons and lights all over the place.
Excellent. Well, I'll dig that out after the interview. And I imagine, so the RNIB, if people aren't in the UK, it's quite a famous historical organisation that campaigns for and looks after the interests of people with visual impairment or blindness. And I imagine you're a bit of a pin-up boy for them now, Tony, because this is absolutely what they're about, isn't it? It's about using technology to enable to get over things.
It's a bit like that. I might write to them and see if they want to stick a poster or something.
Oh, I definitely think you should. We'll send this interview to them to wake them up. I used to walk past their place in London, and I know that they're very keen on the technology and the use of that. And as you say, you've been helped by them. But disability aside, what you are is obviously an accomplished and very able writer, and you've found that marketing thing. So in terms of what we always try and do with our podcasts, in terms of tips for other people, I mean, is there something you could say to me, for instance, who's just finishing their first book? Is it a mindset thing? What do I need to do to make sure I'm going to be successful?
I think you have to separate the writing from the marketing. The writing is one job. Marketing is something completely different. You have to look at it as a totally different business and get your strategy right just for the marketing side of it. Definitely get as many people to see your work as possible, sticking on everybody's nose you can find. Keep plugging away at the Facebook stuff. Get your blog working, which I don't do enough of. Look at the countdown stuff. Look at the emailing services like BookBub and so on. Get yourself a plan that doesn't look at daily sales either, because that just drives people crazy. You're looking at what you're going to do in a whole year here, and how your plan's going to spread over the year to get you the income you need by the end of the year. You do have slow months, but you can't worry about that. You've got to look at the whole process, the whole year's income as opposed to just like, because I used to, when I first started, I used to check every couple of hours, and it's a bit depressing. But no, you look at it on a long term and plan yourself for a whole year. Don't just think, well, this isn't working after the first couple of weeks and give up. It just doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I think that's very good advice. Yeah, we do occasionally see posts from people I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast, who've run their advert for 5 minutes and immediately gone to Facebook saying, what am I doing wrong? I haven't had any sign-ups. I think, well...
Exactly, yeah. It's getting it under people's noses that matters. I mean, if one person in 100 will buy your book and you've got 1 million people looking at it, you're doing all right.
And what sort of help did you get? You said you mentioned some help you found in the community for you. I mean, is this people writing in a similar genre to you? Did you choose this genre because it's something you enjoyed reading, or was it a commercial choice? Sorry, two different questions there.
It's definitely not a commercial choice. No, I don't think fantasy is even in the top 5 as far as genres goes. But as far as help goes, I don't have. Say Rob May's my main writing help. He's the guy I met on Wattpad, which we talked to. We talked an awful lot, and he helps a lot with editing. But the other help, the book covers and the beta reading, is all mostly family and friends. I mean, Matt Taylor does all my covers. There's my ex-wife; she does a lot of the reading. So do the kids. I've got a few friends that do beta reading for me, and then they all contribute towards the finished product, which is another thing I'd say to. Writers don't think because in the end that's the end. Writing is rewriting and polishing and doing all the other bits to make it into a product rather than just a story.
When did you know it was going to work?
Oh, I think about when I had 4 solid months of enough money to pay the rent, I thought this might work. I obviously didn't expect the last couple of months, but all I was bothered about at the time was, can I keep doing this? Can I keep off benefits and can I keep paying the rent? That was my main motivation. I mean, of course, you have to think of things differently if I keep earning 10 grand a month or whatever, but as long as I could pay the bills, that was my main motivation. Like I say, that happened after about the first 3, maybe 4 months. The most important thing I get out of it is the ability to do things. I can actually help out, you know. I mean, before I didn't have an awful lot of money. Now, I've got 2 kids at university, one who's just buying his first house. So, I mean, being able to chip in and help with them, that's a huge deal for me. I've just been to Holland with my daughter. She's doing a year on the Erasmus thing, and I'll never be able to afford to pay for us to go over there a year ago. So this is what you get from writing. If you work hard at it, you can actually live. You can do things.
That's incredible, Tony. I'm so pleased for you. You're a prolific writer, and I imagine that's part of your secret is that you, particularly with KU, people get into it and then they're going to stick with you. They've got a lot to go to. There's always something next to go to. You said, so you think maybe 14 or 15 books. I'm just having a quick look down your Amazon page. So I imagine that's an important part of one of the reasons you've been successful, and the fact that people want to read the books.
Yeah, the KU thing is, I actually got into it just after they changed over from the per book to per page model, which if it's the per book model, I don't think I'd have been able to say that I'd earned all that money because, I mean, like the Dragon Arcus is 2,000 something pages. Mercius is, those 3 books together, I think they're close to 1,500 pages. So, I mean, I didn't intend it to be like that because obviously at the time I didn't know they were going to do a per page model, but I don't know. I thought if it's going to be epic, it's got to be epic. So I just kept writing.
Yeah, it certainly is epic. And the covers are definitely worth having a look at. They're very nice indeed. You say you've got a friend or a family member doing the covers?
That's Matt who does that. Matt Taylor, he's actually works in health and safety, but he's always been an artist and he just helps me whenever I need it.
Yeah, they're superb. And there's a very cool picture of you.
The one with the hat, yeah.
With the hat. Looking sort of 1960s country and western, I'd say.
I'll tell you a story about that. We actually took 70 photos and picked that one because I'm not at all photogenic. It was Matt that did that as well. We borrowed somebody's digital camera and it took all afternoon to get one decent photo.
It's a great picture, Tony. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for contacting us. I suppose the last question we should ask you is really about, in terms of what you would say to other people who have a disability or a progressive condition that you have and maybe haven't made the breakthrough yet. I would imagine you don't need to say anything. I think your story itself speaks for itself, but that's got to be encouraging.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, anyone who is limited, I mean, we're quite lucky actually being in the UK with the way the help we get. I know it's not the same in different countries, and I know this broadcast will go all over, but regardless, it's not the end just because you have a disability. You can always find a way around it. Well, not always, but hopefully you can find a way around it and just keep going. I mean, it's all of my work has been down to support from friends and family. I don't think I'd have done it without them, to be honest. So it's a big ball game, and you just need to have the will to carry on and find the help and the support you can.
Tony Garrett, Mark, what a story. So just to recap, a year ago, hadn't read a book since school, worked out on a tablet, an iPad or whatever, that he could get the font size up to the point where with his condition, he could still start to read. Halfway through J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit, decided he was going to start writing, and last month made £19,000. I mean, that's approaching $30,000 on a normal exchange rate in a single month. Just unbelievable. I mean, that's as much as he earned in a year on his benefit, and it's changed his life. He can help his daughter do her Erasmus course abroad, help his children through college. It's for people who want to contribute and want to work but struggle to. It's an inspirational story.
Yeah, it is. And one of the takeaways from that is not, I'd say, don't focus on the numbers, although they are amazing, and he's done incredibly well. I think there are hundreds and hundreds of authors just like Tony and you and me who are earning enough money now to maybe fill the tank up with gas, or to take their wife or their husband out for a meal they might not otherwise have been able to afford, pay some bills. And it's almost those kind of those unheard people, working in a way that wasn't possible 10 years ago, wasn't even possible 5 years ago. Really, those are the kind of the stories that are inspirational. And then you get people like Tony just crushing it. It's very difficult not to be just so impressed and with what he's done, and grateful with the facilities that are available to us now. And this might actually be, I may actually send this podcast to Amazon, because I think there's something that they should hear about, because I'm speaking at an Amazon conference in Ireland later in November. I think this is exactly the kind of story that they'd be really pleased to hear about.
Yeah. Well, I think the RNIB in the UK would be as well, because it's what they're all about, is empowering people and giving them, if it's technology, what they need to be independent and contribute.
And for those people in America, RNIB is the Royal National Institute for the Blind.
Yes, it is, yeah. And I'm sure there's an equivalent organisation in the States and Canada and elsewhere in the country. It's a large charity-based organisation, but one that looks after the interests of people with visual impairment and blindness. So great. Really, really pleased that Tony got in touch with us, and I think we'll keep in touch with him over the years. Good. Look, that's it. Thank you indeed for listening and indeed watching, if you persevered with the NASA astronauts here in Cambridgeshire and the waistcoat-wearing former lawyer in Wiltshire. And we'll try and do this again, shall we? Try and do the video again?
Do we have to?
We'll reserve judgment. We'll see what it looks like. All right, thanks for listening.
You've been listening to the Self-Publishing Formula podcast. Visit us at selfpublishingformula.com for more information, show notes, and links on today's topics. You can also sign up for our free video series on using Facebook ads to grow your mailing list. If you've enjoyed the show, please consider leaving us a review on iTunes. We'll see you next time.